Hello, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Citizen Council live stream episode 30, big 30. Anyways, I'm going to bring on my co-hosts because it's weird by myself. Welcome, Brandi. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, Chris?
And good, very good. And Perry, outside again.
Yep. It's too nice not to be outside.
Seriously, I looked at the forecast and I think it's like 10 days straight sun. I'm sure it'll change because it's Coos Bay, but
And Perry's got the right idea.
enjoy it. It'll be like what, 2 months and it'll go away again,
Yeah.
unless we get an Indian summer. Can I say that anymore? A Coquel summer? I don't know. What do we say?
An indigenous summer.
Summer. A native summer. Oh boy. I hope no one's watching yet. Anyways, let's do the crime update like we always do. By the way, this is episode 30. How cool is this? We've done 30 of these.
We're gonna show his hit, middle age.
I think I'm counting like some of the, like how when Perry and we went down to the boardwalk, but still, 30 live streams. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, just started randomly. We, Perry and I had this idea about something to do because the government's just not listening. They're not giving up. They give you 3 minutes at a stupid meeting that no one goes to, and they don't listen to a damn thing you say, and they don't take your advice. If anything, they go in the opposite direction and they tell everybody that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. So we were like, well, why don't we just do our own thing then? Have our own meetings, And I don't know if Brandi, I don't know if you remember back then, or we had we actually like put together like a council meeting and had like people chosen for the night to be like citizen councilors. And we had like sitting up in front of the room. I still think that would be a fun idea. We were going to rotate them out like every couple months and elect, like, right? Wasn't it fair? We were going to elect new counselors at every meeting, at the end of every meeting, like who would sit up there.
People that are worth running for positions.
Yeah, we wanted to try and give people an opportunity to like show off their, leadership skills, show off, their analysis and ideas, and yeah, I don't know. I still think we could. It was a lot harder, a lot bigger of a hassle to put all that together and have a meeting. I think it only drew a crowd if there was like a very, very hot topic, kind of like the live stream.
How it is,
right? Like we go from tons of people to like almost nobody, depending on the topic or the week. And it's like, at least if all it was a live stream and it took an hour or two out of our, it's not much of an effort. I don't know. I guess it's like that with the city council meetings and the commissioner meetings though too. They probably have months of totally boring meetings. And then Perry shows up.
There has to be an ebb and flow to the energy too, right? Like, you can't just be putting fires out every day, every week, like always have something dramatic and big. God, you'd end up with freaking PTSD by the time you're done with it. You come out of it with a stress disorder, I'm sure.
If I haven't already.
Right?
Yeah.
It's
for sure. What do you think, Perry? Should we keep the format, keep the live streams? Should we try and put together like an in-person meeting, or maybe we should just do like next time we have something really big, we'll put together an in-person meeting.
Yeah.
I think we should do it whenever you guys. Sorry, go ahead, Perry.
That might be good. I don't know. We need to find more people, but it's hard to do.
Yeah. We Brandi, our first meeting was mostly about the Devereaux Center. Like, what can we do? Like, the city's not doing anything, the county's not doing anything. So it was like, hey, come listen to some of the speakers, the counselors, and they essentially were people that we picked from all over the area that had experiences with crime and the Devereaux Center, and they just kind of gave their take on it, and then I had pre-written up a letter that I thought would be a good idea. And it was like an open letter to the city, the county, and the Devereaux Center. And I figured if everybody voted and thought it was a good idea, we would sign it and then present it at all the next meetings, which we did. It was pretty cool. Everybody signed it at the end of the meeting. It was like 2 pages long on legal paper. And I went around to all the meetings and told them about it and handed it out to them. And yeah, I mean, it was 8 months later, but that, I think right around 8 months or so, they eventually shut down the Devereaux Center. So it took a while, but
8 months is not bad for such a huge,
for government time.
I don't know if bureaucracy is the right word,
like 10
but
months.
just, like
yeah,
for such a huge, because they were deeply ingrained as kind of a right there, like on the border of government and private, where they were really living off of and enmeshed with our other local systems. So
they were
8
about to
months
get
is
millions of dollars in grants and expand. I mean, it was like they were going to go the opposite direction of where we wanted them to go.
And the issue with that too is like, yeah, we should expand mental health care. We should expand facilities for rehabilitation. But this stuff can't be voluntary. I'm voting no on anything that is voluntary from here on out. I want involuntary commitments for people who cannot self-sustain. I don't care what organization they go to, but they need to be committed and put through a proper rehab program. And our Governor Kate Brown, shut down the one institution that had a proven track record of success, and that's the Shutter Creek Boot Camp program. That saved lives. And
didn't we have somebody on here that went through that? Remember we randomly?
I personally know 3 people who went through it. I can probably get one of them to come on if we'd like to have someone talk about it.
Or no, it was Melissa's husband. That's who it was. Melissa, she was talking about her husband, and she said that he went through that, and it was like world changing for him.
Yep.
So
turn their life around. And our governor, what was it, $24 million for social justice initiatives, for social equity initiatives.
DEI, yeah.
For social equity specifically, and I may have the numbers wrong, but I want to say it was like $24 million.
I think it was more than that. It was crazy.
This is you have to really just, and this is my tinfoil hat moment, bear with me, but are they doing it on purpose?
I don't know.
I mean,
right? It's crazy. Like, why do you
think of a more effective way to screw up an entire society?
I think they're drunk with power and drunk with their own self-righteous, altruistic
hubris.
Ego.
So much hubris. Yeah.
Well, we got to say hi to Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl. Thanks for watching, as always.
Yeah.
Where's the other Cheryl?
Guys, this is our 30th show. Where do we take it from here? Where do we we've run out of elections for the time being. People seem to kind of behaving themselves, other than the local ferals that are always causing problems, but we don't have any sex offenders who have re-victimized someone. Do we have any follow-ups on the SWAC situation?
Not yet. It's stagnant at the moment, but things are still, out there.
We could touch on
in the in between, but when we don't have a solution to present or a task force to put together, then it's kind of an in between. And I think just doing updates for people, between the 3 of us and other people that guests that we can bring on, I think that's enough to have updates for people.
Definitely, yeah.
Just things going on. Somebody just texted me today from the North Bend School Board, and they scheduled the URA vote for August already. So they're going to redo that vote already.
Put us $40 million into debt.
Yep. Well, I don't know the number. They could modify it, but yeah, we got a question from John Wenborn. Hey Chris, how is the country or I think you meant county going to be since the jail levy failed? Well, not the greatest. I mean, it wasn't all about the jail levy though. If the jail levy had passed, they were claiming that it was a 5-year run. They'd have 5 year, that's a 5-year levy, so they had 5 years worth of funds to staff the jail and put it up to 3 pods and fund some prosecutors and stuff. But that was by their math, and by my math, it would have run out in about 2 to 3 years. They would have already needed more money based on how much their expenses were increasing, and I don't know what we would really have gotten with that much more, because for about, I don't know, what was it, Perry, like 10 months? Maybe not even.
Maybe. Yeah,
it was like
maybe.
April to December of last year, they had the jail open to 2 pods. So they went from 49 beds available to 98 beds available. And when it's at 49 beds like it is now, they're like booked solid. Like they're always right at 49. They're like 47 to 52, And when they went up to 98 beds available, and by the way, people didn't know this, but that did not increase beds for females. There were still only 11 beds available for females. So they were still getting booked and released just like they were before. It was only the men, which is kind of a little messed up, that we're not getting emergency released. But
I personally saw that happen.
Perry,
Pulled someone in for driving without a person who's committing a bunch of different crimes, got arrested, booked and released, was back in the bar 2 hours later.
Yep. And that's happening to everybody now. But Perry, what was it? It was like, I don't think it ever got above like 70 or 75.
It was about 70, yeah.
And it would be as low. I think it went back down in the 50s at times. It just didn't seem like, and I don't know if it was, the sheriff's office, or if it was the judges not giving people sentences, or if it was the state bouncing people because of the stupid legislation they have, right? Like, I don't know what, but collectively, it didn't amount to more than like 20 to 30 at best more people being in the jail.
And most crimes are book and release because of state legislation.
Yes, because of that's what a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of our law enforcement doesn't kind of make clear, which is, I mean, I get why they don't, but at the same time, if we don't all stand up to the state and say what they're doing isn't working, nothing's going to change. And our sheriff does need to be a part of that. Our police chiefs need to be a part of that. They need to join the commissioners in pushing back against the state for state mandated pretty much catch and release stuff. And the state closed down our mental hospitals, closed down Shutter Creek and the rehab center, and released all of these people during the pandemic. And they're trying to put the cost burden of all of these people who have come from all over the place back on us to treat, and we don't have the resources for it. I know it's not really an answer. I mean,
I also just never heard a strategic conversation, public conversation around like the cuts. Like, it seems like they just made the cuts to be like as fair and nice as possible to the different departments. And there was really no strategy decision around like, well, we need prosecutors more than we need patrol deputies. Like the cities are bringing more than enough people to our jail and to our prosecutors to be put away. Yes, we have an obligation to the county residents, but it's, it's a tough conversation, but like there's a level of priority. And if you are stuck in a situation where you have to choose one or the other, at least my determination is that prosecutors was the highest, even more than jail. Because like, what's the point of even putting them in the jail if you're not going to ever prosecute them? and give them jail time. Like we have such a shortage of prosecutors, and they're not prosecuting. I think it's like C and D misdemeanors. I don't know if I have that right, but it's like misdemeanors like disorderly conduct and trespassing and criminal mischief. And it's like, those are kind of all the really most annoying ones right now.
Prosecuting those is in the larger context of the broken window theory.
Exactly.
How you know, those are important crimes to enforce because they are the predecessor to more egregious crimes.
In the public
what do you think,
defenders,
Perry?
When that second pod was open, that's when all that came about, where they did not have enough public defenders for the people that were in jail, so they were going to have to release them.
Yeah, and that sucks because it's controlled by the state. So like no city or county around here had anything to do with that. I mean, you do indirectly, like you could advocate for it. You could, I don't know how you would twist somebody's arm, but essentially, yeah, we didn't have power over that, which sucked. So that was a bottleneck, but we're way low on prosecutors. I asked during a meeting, during the budget hearings, when we're talking about money, talking about where to make the cuts. I personally asked the DA at the time, like compared to other populations, like per population and the amount of crime we have, compared to other counties, like how many prosecutors should we have for the amount of crime we have? And like what would be reasonable? Like not a perfect world, but like what would be a decent amount of assistant DAs to be able to prosecute crime? And he said 16. And he's like, I could maybe get away doing it with 12, but 16 to be realistic. And I absolutely need 12. Do you know how many we're at? I believe we're at 6 or 7. And at the time when we had this conversation, they had a budget for 9, but they were literally cutting it down to 8. And then the first thing they did when the levy failed, the second time in November, the first thing they did is they they removed any position that was currently like being hired for, right? And it just so happened that one of those was in the prosecutor's office, so they went down to 7. And then I think they lost somebody. So I think, they didn't lose somebody. The DA retired, and one of the prosecutors moved up to DA. So technically, we only have 6 assistant DAs, and it's just like you just took any position away that was out for hire without any, again, strategic thought around, well, maybe some of them have different weight than others. You know, it was just, well, any open position, just cancel it. That was just an easy way to save money, I guess. And it's like, I don't know.
Well,
get depressed when I think about this shit.
We can't forget that the county was funding 2 pods of the jail for years, but they couldn't staff the jail.
Right.
For that second pod. And
they weren't saving that money in a fund or anything.
Saving that money. So the end of the year would come around, that money wasn't spent. It went back in the general fund and they spent it other places. So that was mismanagement of money. But on top of that, they tried to get a levy for a 3rd pod while we still could not staff a 2nd pod.
Right. And they told you in some first meetings about about staffing that 2nd jail pod, you had asked how much does it cost, and they said around $800,000 to run that jail pod. Now this was 3 years ago numbers probably. Then when they first proposed the levy, not first, but the second to last time they proposed the levy, because I think they proposed it 7 times in the past 20 years or something and lost every time. But anyways, second to last time they proposed it about 2 years ago, it was, they put it on in the writing, or I don't know if they put it in the writing, but they told us, sorry, I'm speaking out both sides of my head, 1.2 million. So all of a sudden it went from 800,000 was what they told Perry to now it's going to cost 1.2 million. Yep. And it's like, come on, you're only saying that now because you're asking for money. Then get this.
That's a big increase.
Then when the levy failed and they started having to talk about cuts, they asked the sheriff, well, how much would we save by removing the second jail pod now from the budget. Because I don't know if you remember, they had to make the budget as if the levy passed. So they made the budget as, and they did. They bumped up to 2 jail pods because they were preparing for the levy to pass. So then they had to cut it, and they asked him, how much does that save us? And he said $1 million. $1 million. It was like 900 and something thousand, but rounded up to $1 million. It's like, so it's 800, then it's 1.2, now it's 1.
Well, so,
and then they wonder why we don't trust them, and we say that they're freaking lying to us.
But at the 1.2, if that levy had passed, it was either 1 or 2 years later, it wouldn't be able to fund that second pot anymore.
For sure, yeah,
it was proven, because we can look back at it, at how much the
trajectory it would not have kept up with the increase in the levy.
Yep.
Which is the whole problem with property tax, which is why none of this makes sense.
Right.
But they don't listen. Remember, we even had the first and probably only time I'm like, hey, I think they might actually want to work with us. They had a whole work session and allowed me to give a PowerPoint presentation. I think I was up there, Perry, for probably an hour and a half. It was crazy. Actually yeah. I mean, you're talking, it was a closed meeting, not closed, it was open meeting, but it was not live streamed or anything. It was, 10 people from our side and 10 people from their side. That's it. But the sheriff was there, and some other deputies, and the commissioners and the treasurer. So, I mean, it could have bared fruit. And I outlined 7 of my ideas, various ideas, and then I showed one, the one I think makes the most sense, and showed it how it would play out and how it would work. And they've done none of it. That was to try and convince them to not put the levy on the ballot. We were trying to show them that the levy is going to fail, and there's no point pursuing it. This was 2 years ago, and they didn't listen. No. And then they did it twice. And then just made the cuts and said, well, we tried. It's like, you didn't freaking try. This is why I can't work with them. They threw this opportunity right out the window and screwed us on public safety and blamed us, blamed the citizens.
This is a good opportunity to just mention that
Hold on, Perry's trying to say something.
Okay, go ahead, Perry.
And as for property taxes, that container ship thing might save us. I don't know how much they'd end up paying in taxes, but it might. But other than that, property taxes are outdated. We're not a growing city. This county is stagnant, basically. Same population since I was a kid. And property taxes will not be the answer. But if you wanted to get into something different, like the sales tax that you'd brought up before, you got to get people to vote on it, and nobody trusts the county, because all they do is not quite be perfectly open and honest about everything.
You're being very nice in saying that. And that was a big component of the donation initiative. It was to build trust. It was to have the county build trust with the people, that they do want to support law enforcement, and businesses want to support law enforcement financially. And then the people would build trust with the government, because the government would have to match those funds that we donate 50-50, and that we're in this together, and that if we're going to take money out of our pockets and our businesses to give voluntarily to the jail and to the prosecutors to fund this, then you're going to have to hurt too. You're going to have to take money from the clerk's office, from the forestry fund, from other parts of the government that you don't want to. But that's what we're doing. You know what I mean? That's why I thought a volunteer fund would have been a great opportunity to bridge that gap, get people to start working together and understanding these problems. And they wanted nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. They laughed at it. They thought it was a joke. You had people from the sheriff's office, like Adam Slater, stand up and say that just defund us, just lay us off.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally came out directly against the initiative to try and have a community behind them funding the jail. I can't believe it, And anyway, so if that had succeeded, you could see where there might be a future where the people trust the government enough to do a sales tax and trust the leaders that are doing this to trust them with a sales tax that it's not going to get out of control like California and turn into like 10%, and that it would be used appropriately. It's crap.
You're right.
You've been waiting patiently, Brandi.
Oh, I was kind of like looking for the document because you're completely right. There's no trust. And I mean, it was all the better that I waited because to that point, long story short, I came upon a document where a private citizen was asking the city of Coquille, the city council, for taxpayer money to fix up their Victorian home up there behind Safeway. These are people who lived in California. I think the woman, the wife is from Coquille, moved down there, had her whole career up there. Her parents are now ailing, so they've moved back to collect and established themselves in Coquille, and came to the city of Coquille and asked for taxpayer money to rehabilitate their Victorian historic home. Mayor Flaherty voted yes to give those people our money. That's why this is, and when I came across that document, and you can see, I could dig it all up and like, it's all public record, the votes, who voted yes and who voted no. And I will tell you that vast majority of the city council voted no. And there were a couple people, it might have only been the mayor, but there were a very few people who voted yes on that. But when you have, and I came across that, my stomach just did a flip flop because it's like, how can I give these people less of my money? I was grossed out, and everyone should be. But when you have 24% of the electorate showing up, City of Coquille is going through the same thing now, where they're going to face a rate hike that they don't have control over. Oh, well, the residents of Coos County are so upset not having control when 24% of them show up to vote. So now you're mad that you don't have control. Okay, well, prove that you want control by casting your ballot, please. Pretty please.
Yeah. Well, but that's also on us. We've got to rally the troops. We've got to organize. So,
Chris, I couldn't have banged the drum harder during this last election. I couldn't have personally.
We have no other choice.
And our people who tune in are pretty active. I think they're probably like pretty on top of it, but there's a lot of people who are checked out.
We can do better.
Okay. I'm up for it.
All right.
We have to do better because, man.
Cyril says, with what's happening in Coquille right now, she's not surprised. Yeah, there's.
Yeah.
I haven't been totally in tune with it. I did watch the beginning of the city council meeting in Coquille. I believe it was on Monday or Tuesday, and they, I guess there was like, people thought the city manager was getting a $30K raise, but he was up for contract renewal, and the $30K was from the delta, the difference from his initial contract 3 years ago to what it will be now. So it is still a $30,000 raise. It's just over 3 years. Mm-hmm. And that's still a pretty hefty raise, guys. That's freaking, it's like up to 160,000, I think now, or something. Like, jeez.
No, I thought it was 130,000, which is still an inappropriate amount of money to ask. Yes.
Okay.
But way inappropriate.
Don't quote me on the numbers.
The dude should be down in a $60,000 range. Dude, it's the city of Coquille. Like, people need to get off themselves. If you want to make more money, go to a bigger city where there's a bigger tax base. If I wanted to make that kind of money, if I wanted to make double my income, I would have stayed in New York City. Like,
Could you
It's not
imagine sitting there and making
reasonable.
all that money while like bums and tweakers run around terrorizing your city because
Public
there's not enough
servants
money?
should make
It's,
median
and
income,
they have to raise
period.
everybody's, what is it, like sewer rates? They're going to raise everybody's rates to pay for ambulance service. And the city manager is totally cool with taking all that cash. And I'm sure he's a great guy, and I'm sure he does a great job. But
And act like it.
we're in a situation where we have to decide on priority, and it
People
baffles
need
me.
to like, I don't know if maybe he thought nobody would notice. I don't know if maybe he thinks he deserves it. I don't know what the reasoning is, like what the justification is for that. But I can tell you that regardless of how you try to justify this, it comes across as super tone deaf, inappropriate, outside of our cultural norms. People don't make that much money here, and you're living off of taxpayer money.
They
This is why
compare it to
we
other
vote no.
cities, and they
Which
come
is
up with that number
ridiculous.
because they're like, oh look, he could just go to blank
Then
other
go.
city, right? And they
Go.
do the same thing with the sheriff's office. Like they'll say, well, we have to give these people
No,
all
they
these
don't.
raises, or the clerk's office or the prosecutors, and it's like,
Well,
but you guys also want all this like pats on the back for being, being our public servants and doing such a good job and sacrificing yourself for us. It's like sacrifice. Jeez. How
and
much?
if we want to compare to other cities, then we might as well compare ourselves to Bend, because 25 years ago, they had a population somewhere around ours, maybe even less, and now they have 100,000. Well, why is that? What has Coos Bay done to fail us that way?
That's a good point, Perry. Hey, I have an idea. How about we prorate commensurate salaries based on the crime rate? So, like, we use the crime rate. So, yes, you could compare Coquille to a similar sized town, and then let's compare crime rates and prorate everyone's pay according to the crime rate. I bet you if we did that to the entire government of Oregon, crime would come to a screeching halt. Because if they wanted to stop it, they could and they would. The only reason they're not is because they don't want to.
Yeah, it's I'll admit that I probably, I don't. I've never been a city manager. I've never worked directly with a city manager. I've never been on city council.
It's
I don't know what
cold,
their day to
dude.
day, but it's like, come on.
I cannot
What,
with
North
that.
Bend? Holy crap. He actually tried for, I think it was a $36,000 raise in 1 year. He tried for it.
He did. That's very on brand, though.
And you had conservatives okay with it, championing it. Things. Oh, he's such a great guy. He's so cool. He brings in so much grant money. Like he's saving us.
How great are you if you cannot increase the population of the town?
Yeah.
And you can't decrease crime. When your city has a higher rape rate than New York City. Higher violent rape rate.
When you can't defeat crime and decrease it, you just tell the public that that you have. You just lie. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I do.
I can't believe it. Anyways, man, I still got a cough. Hold on.
I'm so glad you're doing better. I was worried about him, man.
I still have this wicked cough. Anyways, Perry, we never got your crime update. What's going on with crime? I flipped on the scanner for a second because there were all these sirens, and there was like a cop in Coos Bay pulling over an RV without a license plate, and they run the driver. He's suspended. He's not allowed to be driving. So no license plate. It's out of state. They can't find the VIN. Like they run it in a bunch of different states and can't find it. I'm assuming it's an RV because they said there's a generator on the back. But anyways, they let him go. I think they gave him a ticket, but let him go. I don't think they let him drive away, but I think they let him go. And then they arrested the passenger for something. They did not say why. Must have been a warrant or something. And it's just like, They took him down to Coos Bay Station, which normally means they're just releasing him there. They're not taking him to Coquille. I don't know. It's just. So what do you got, Perry?
When was that? Yesterday, day before yesterday. Stolen motorcycle, slight police chase, crashed. Had a different stolen motorcycle's license plate on this stolen motorcycle.
Jeez.
And I think
you can't even get your stolen plates right.
I think the best part about it is you start making connections on who's who. So there's a house on the corner of Libby and Shingle House. Got quite a few sex offenders living there, and they do a lot of shoplifting and running from the police and all kinds of stuff. Well, that guy ended up walking up onto this crime scene, which was up on the end of Rice Road. I don't know, a mile away, maybe, probably. And so it's nice to know that those houses are helping each other out with whatever feral things they're up to. But yeah, he ended up going to jail, went to the hospital first. It was just a few days before that where Michael Farnham ran into the fence on Southwest Boulevard, that's only a couple miles away from where the other accident.
Was that the video McKinley posted?
Yeah.
That he just smack right into the fence and then stands up and gets arrested. And I read the press release. That cop wasn't even following him.
No, that cop was heading out to Charleston for something.
Yeah,
something else. He just had a guilty conscience and punched it around the bend.
I think he's going for the world record for the amount of police chase instant motorcycle crashes. I think he's up to 3 or 4 now.
Man, the thing is, like, who does the family sue when he eventually loses control of his motorcycle and kills someone?
Yeah.
Can he sue the judges that let the guy out? Can he sue the governor? Can he sue the state of Oregon, the legislators who have done this? I mean, man.
Probably not, unfortunately.
It is out of our county's hands, really, right? Because our county can't hold him beyond what the state will allow him to hold him for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think if we had a jail that had beds available and had prosecutors to prosecute a lot of this crime, broken windows theory, prosecute the lower crime. So if a judge is allowed to sentence you to like 30 days, right now you're getting nothing. First of all, if it's a crime in like the 30-day, window, they're not even going to prosecute it. Like they've actually said that, like criminal mischief, trespass, they're not going to prosecute it. But let's just say they would, because we have the prosecutors. Okay, now we're going to prosecute it. And we tell the judges, guys, don't give them 1 day in jail or 10 days in jail. Give them 30 days in jail, and they'll spend 30 days in jail. I think you would see a difference. And all that has nothing to do with the state. We can do that as Coos County. We can do more than that. We could put people away for 6 months. But they don't. The judges hand out lowered sentences because they know it would just fill up the jail. And then even when they give a sentence, like say they give a 30-day sentence, these people get out of the jail within a couple days because it's full and they just bounce them.
Yeah. And everything's a plea deal. Doesn't matter what crime you've committed. It's a plea deal. So the DA doesn't have
they don't have the time to prosecute it.
Yeah.
So here's my question.
So all that's
forward. What if we could if we could wave a magic wand and give Coos County's law enforcement $10 million, how quickly do you think it would take for them to become corrupt and abusive?
I don't think it would even.
I don't think so. I think the people around here are pretty decent.
So that $10 million.
Okay, so let me
be instantly spent on everything we need just to get it up to par.
It would be more of a matter of how fast it runs out.
As soon as police run out of stuff to do, so as soon as there's money, you're going to attract people who like power and money. usually like not the best. And now you've decreased crime. Like, let's say we get what we want and we decrease crime. Here's my concern, and this is something that I don't hear law enforcement talk about enough. What happens when the cops get bored? And then they start pulling over people for really no reason. Well, you look like you swerved a little. They come out here to Fairview and start pulling people over for rolling through a stop sign, like while they're literally following like another person with equipment. And it's a stop sign where there's nobody at.
Well, she's saying, what if we did?
So what if we fully fund, we get crime down?
Yeah.
How do we prevent? Because here's the cycle,
we have good leaders,
right?
is your answer.
They
good
leadership doesn't always see it. They see it as, well, we're just enforcing the law. But what happens?
That's a shitty leader to me. Good leadership who is in tune with the citizens. So if you have that situation happen to you, you know that there's a leader that is open to that kind of communication coming from a citizen, and that they're going to get to the bottom of it. And that if there's a pattern of it, that it's happening, right? Like an isolated incident, you deal with it with whoever did that. But if there's a pattern of it, because like you said, they're bored, then you go, okay, maybe now's the time to dial things back. And we reduce our force because we've accomplished our goal.
Yeah. That's has to be
what a good leader would do.
Written into the plan. Because what happens is, so this is what's so frustrating, because they cannot see the importance of politics in policing. What they do is they get bored and then they start haranguing people who aren't bothering anybody. And you know the type of stuff I'm talking about. So what that cycles into is defund the police. And then we end up right back where we are.
Yeah. And
it's a cycle. And they just can't.
I don't think you can legislate it. I don't think you can write it into anything. It's too tough. That's why I think we need to breed a generation of good leaders who are in touch with the people, who are willing to listen and learn and go out there and be proactive. And I don't know. That's how I feel.
My leadership development skills to the test, right?
Yeah.
Because that is what it's all about, is bringing people up.
We've got a live update from Bandon. James says there's a bum right now whacked out of his mind in the parking lot of the Bandon Shopping Center. He used to be in Coquille, whacked out of his mind, but somehow made it to Bandon. Maybe he walked. What do you do in that situation?
There should be a facility where that person is admitted and cared for. The fact that he's left to live on the street is horrific. And the idea that community-based care can solve this problem is, I would say it's laughable, but it's hurting too many people to be laughable. You can't leave really critical care for populations that require 24-hour care. Some of these people, we can't afford to have these types of institutions. They should be pooled into state institutions. And the more they're moving care into the communities, it's more expensive. We see more instances of negligence, of abuse, of neglect. It's less well regulated, or not it's still well regulated. It's less enforced. Like, the regulations are harder to enforce at the local levels. There's so many drawbacks. And that's what the state is trying to push right now. That was what Drew was up in Salem dealing with right now.
Yeah, I briefly read and watched a little bit of one of his updates. I guess he was up there fighting some of the bills. But we got Cheryl saying, here's my question. There's been a couple of really big drug busts lately. There have been. And all these people are getting arrested are getting let out of jail to just do it all over again. So why is the money being spent on the resources to do such a good thing, but yet only to turn the perps loose to continue to offend? Where does it stop? Nobody knows. It's tough because we don't totally know the whole picture, right? We don't know everything going on. We don't we're not following up on every single one of these arrests and every single one of these people. But my take on it is that the lower level offenders probably aren't seeing much, and they're really just doing it to go after the big time people. I was in court for some sentencing for some bigger drug dealers in the area from Bandon, and they definitely push for long state sentences for those people. I think they try to not have any of those people in our county jail. So that just means that some of them then unfortunately don't get prosecuted because it's so small that it would just end up being like a month in county jail, and they don't want that, which sucks. We just talked about that, how much that sucks. But hey, at least they are doing these drug busts, and they are probably using some of those people as well to testify against them and find out where they are, and then do the bigger drug busts. I do know that I've seen footage and been involved in some court cases watching them and asking questions, and they do definitely go after the bigger out of the area. You've got drugs coming from Eugene, Salem, and Medford, and all sorts of places, and they go after that. So I actually have been impressed with the sheriff's office from that standpoint. They don't have really a budget for it. They kind of defunded SINT, which is the drug enforcement program in the county.
They still do incredible work, don't they?
They're still doing it. So that's a win. Don't really have anything else to say about that. Says good to know Chris makes sense. Thank you. I answered something. But we just got another one. I live across the street from the junkie house by Minkus Park. Ooh. They flashbanged like 3 times a few months ago. Resources from Eugene came in all the wasted money. Yeah, I think she's talking about the red brick house across from like the ballpark. That house sucks, and they have so many people living there and dealing drugs out of there. It's wild, and it's been an issue for years and years and years. So I don't know enough about that.
They use the crime property ordinance to start fining the landowner.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this one. I don't know enough about it. I do know that it's been a major problem. I do know that you can go. I don't know how it's been the past couple months, but I do know that for a while you could go by any time of the day, and you could see how feral it was, and just people wandering like zombies all around. It was very obvious.
Here's what you might be able to do.
I don't know how you just let that happen.
Yeah. So here, I think, see if you can pull police reports. Go to the Coos. Is she in Coos? Yeah, Mingus Park, Coos Bay. Go to the Coos Bay Police Department. Ask if you can pull police reports for that address. Use those police reports to file a ordinance violation complaint through your city planning department.
She could probably, honestly, Chief Chapinar, the Coos Bay Police Department, he's a good guy, and he will absolutely talk to you about this, and he'll even probably help you out with what Brandi is talking about, which is the specified crime property ordinance.
Yes.
He knows about it. Probably be happy to have
so
help.
Here's
I don't think
Chris.
It's a lack of like wanting to solve the problem. It's a lack of like, I don't know.
No. So there is actually an answer to this one. It's not. The ordinance violations work on complaint only. They do not go out and look for violations. It is only by civilian complaint that they are investigated and assessed. So if no one has filed this complaint before, you may not have nobody may have thought to do it. So I would say start there with that, because that's what ultimately I believe got the Devereaux Center hammered.
Yeah, I think the city council can take this measure as well, but I would start with Chief Chapinar. He would probably be more than willing to talk about this with you.
Yeah.
And I think you can call his office and leave a message or send him an email. He'll get back to you. Sorry, Chris, if I just gave you more work. Other Chris Chapinar. I saw she wrote a comment earlier, and now I can't find it. Oh, she was saying, when we were saying, what do we do now? She said, maybe in the downtime, keep trying to reach out and teach the truth. She was different pre-COVID in 2020. I hate saying COVID. It was the government shutdown that was the problem. COVID was
Yeah.
also a problem, but two different problems.
Yeah.
I realized how conservative I actually am.
Same. Like in
I didn't know
on a lot of
politically at all what I
levels.
was. And then, I learned very quickly that I'm conservative.
You guys
So,
want to meet my dog?
what's his name?
Her
Or
name's
is it a she?
Eleanor.
Eleanor.
Yeah. She's an
Mrs.
old girl.
Roosevelt.
Yeah, she's named after a former first lady.
All right, Eleanor. That's funny. Oh boy.
She's a good girl. Okay. She's getting old.
Phil says 8th Court, Mr. Dunn. I believe, the road by Mingus Park. That's what she's talking about. I believe so.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to go over the hour mark. I think I liked the shorter show. So
I do too. It gives me time to have a proper dinner.
there you go. Well, do you have anything? Any updates? I just know about the urban renewal thing that's coming up. There's a Republican Party meeting the 4th Thursday of this month. If people are interested, mark your calendar at
We
6
go.
o'clock in Myrtle Point at Cozy Kitchen. Very weird place to have a meeting, but I didn't choose it.
Should we go?
I'm gonna go, but
I'll probably go. A fourth Thursday?
4th Thursday, 6 p.m. Cozy Kitchen at Myrtle Point. Kind of out of the way. But,
We'll be quiet this time if I go.
all right. You know what impressed me the most is Rob Taylor, Radio Rob, didn't even say anything. I don't think the
He
whole
was
meeting.
super well, because he knew they would call the cops on him. He was super well behaved though. I think that was my first time meeting him in person too. So he wanted to make a good impression.
All right. You know,
one
we've
of the-
never like formally met in person. I think we've been in the same room twice and just
Okay,
kind of
so
done like a hi.
we have met. You don't remember.
What did we meet? Oh no, we did when I gave you my sign.
Yeah, you came in where
We
I
talked for a
work.
long time.
Yeah.
I do remember that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was when we first met, but then we didn't talk for quite a while after. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I didn't. I don't even think I knew you.
Nope.
You just asked for a sign. Very cool.
Mhm.
I do remember that. All right. So we've met.
Yeah.
Okay. You told me to meet you at your
you.
work, and then I go there and it's like across the street. It's on Ackerman across the street from all those bums. Sorry if I just outed you, but we'll delete that. Anyways, it was like this tent city across, and I'm like, wow.
Well, okay, to be fair, our office isn't there anymore. But I mean, for the most part, I think people know where I work anyway. I don't try to hide it, but I in no way represent the views of my employer. They respect my First Amendment rights, but I in no way, shape, or form espouse the views of my employer, nor do they espouse mine. So.
Oh wow, that's cool that you still get along then. That's a win.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that they don't. I just don't know because we have a very apolitical environment. They're
Very cool.
very neutral, and I have tried to be respectful of our clients, and I am very pro. I mean, we serve small businesses, and I am very pro small business. Small business is like my favorite economic thing. And so I don't have too hard of a time being super supportive of our clients. I've had to be
I just
quiet
didn't
on a
expect to
couple of
see them
occasions.
all right there sitting outside.
There were some issues.
Well, they're not your clients,
and
but, yeah.
it's our office is no longer there.
Well, that's got to be better. I would be so
There
nervous
were
and annoyed going to
actually
work every day.
We've had rocks thrown through our windows. We had to put up that gate, that fencing because
That's crazy.
employees had rocks thrown through their car windows. One of my coworkers was accosted while locking the gate. They threw a planter at her and
Jeez.
screaming, yelling. There's shootings down the street, like at least once a year. People beating each other with sticks was a pretty common occurrence. We could no longer walk through the park. We no longer took our
Isn't
break
that crazy?
walks.
That just kills me. And you tell that to the city council and they look at you like you're nuts, that you're being dramatic and you're making stuff up because the park is lovely and it's not a problem. And it's like, it might be 9 times out of 10, but it only takes that one time for you to go, nope, this is not safe for me and my friends and my children. And, like, no, I'm not coming back.
What do they not understand about a higher per capita violent rape rate than New York City? Like, what about that doesn't
Well, and like, I'm not
I
afraid going there and I'm not really like risk or fearful. I just don't want to deal with it. So I go other places, and that sucks. I would love to. I go for runs. I would love to go to John Toppins Park. And when I first moved here, that's what I did until it became a problem. And then I stopped going. So,
I avoid unsafe
anyways,
areas. I definitely do, but stay safe out there, folks.
yep. Hopefully things don't get worse because, like, how
Pack
could they
heat
get
and
worse?
de-escalate.
There you go. De-escalate. De-escalation skills are
Yep.
I'm always trying to practice.
Yep.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week, as always, 6 p.m. on Wednesday. Thanks for showing up and commenting, everybody.